Oh, I can't chat through here. That's weird. Are you chatting using StreamYard, Chelsea, or not?
Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Titollenial Sesh, and we have Gus with us here tonight, and
Hi.
also Chelsea. Hi, Chelsea. Good morning in the other side of the world.
Hello, hi guys.
Hi,
What time is it
everyone.
there?
It is 8 in the morning. I'm
Ooh.
Oh my
13
gosh,
hours
8 in the
behind you
morning.
guys.
I
That's good.
cannot. It's too early.
Well, I
Yeah.
got back from work not too long ago, so I'm good.
Okay,
Cool.
great.
Yeah,
All
I got
right.
back from work at like 4 in the morning.
Oh, really? Okay.
What do you do, by the way?
I work fast food.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So today's topic will be asexuality, and this is one of the topics that I personally I would love to hear and get more personal stories because I
Mhm.
have not met any ace in my entire life until I
Oh
met
yeah.
Chelsea. You are the first one that I met who actually is open about
hmm
asexuality. So I am pretty, very like the this interested to
hmm
know more about that. Well, I already knew about it, but it's all on theory.
Mm-hmm.
I've read it in
hmm
different materials, but that's where I know. Okay,
Yeah.
and okay, and we have some viewers in the house. Hello, everybody. Good
Hey,
evening.
Lionheart.
And
Hi,
Hi
good day
Lionheart.
Steven.
to
Hi
all of
everyone.
you, Lionheart, J Boy. Hello, everybody. Uh, Someone's calling me Doc Alvin. I'm not a doctor. just to be clear, I am not a doctor by profession. I'm a nurse by profession. But if you can call me a love doctor, then go.
Wow. I need that.
A
I really
relationship
need that.
doctor, sexuality doctor, go. No problem.
What a title.
Anyway, okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the floor to Chelsea, and we're going to ask her some questions about her asexuality. And later we'll be entertaining some questions from you, everyone, regarding some thoughts, or maybe there are some questions that you also have
Mm-hmm.
that were not answered, or you're just plainly curious what is it. So Chelsea, first before we go into asexuality, what do you do? Like, what are you interested?
What do you mean?
Like
Like,
hobbies and
with hobbies, what do you usually do apart from, of course, reviewing BL series because we know that we love them.
oh, really? You review BL series? I didn't know that.
Oh my god,
that's
really?
that's that's new to me. That's new.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I do YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Hobbies, I guess, like listening to music, watching TV, traveling, things like that. That's
Oh,
How
pretty
long have
traveling.
much
you
it,
been
though.
doing reacting?
Hmm?
If I may ask, how long have you been doing reaction?
Well, let's see. I started my channel back in January of 2016, and that
Wow.
was I started with like K-pop, and then moved to like different like Asian music reactions. So like Kazakh music, Japanese, Mandarin, Vietnamese, Filipino, all kinds of different like music genres, and then I believe it was June of last year of 2019 was when I started BL reactions.
Do you remember
So
which
what?
BL
Yeah,
you watched
you
first?
started.
Yeah, I started with Theory of Love, but my main priority was Two Moons 2. So I ended up not
Yeah.
finishing reacting to Theory of Love because I got too busy trying to like juggle them. But yeah, those were
hmm
like the ones that I started with.
Cool.
Great. What's my first BL? My first BL was Sotus. That's my first BL series that I
Oh, really?
because it,
Like in general,
yeah,
or just like oh wow.
Mm.
yeah,
Me.
that's the one present in or was it in Netflix. So I was wondering what
hmm
is this. So when I started watching it, I was hooked, and then I started watching a lot of BL series after that. How
That was
about you,
pretty
Gus?
lit.
What's the first?
That was pretty late because like it took a lot of time before Sotus went to Netflix. I think that the
Mhm.
time I was watching it, I was in YouTube. I don't remember exactly what my first BL was, but I think the one that really struck me was Two Moons, not Two Moons two, Two Moons, the
Two
first
Moons, yeah.
one. That was the one that got stuck in my head. But I've been watching. I think I've been watching a lot of BLs in the past, like Taiwanese and
Mhm.
Chinese BLs. But what really got stuck in my head was Two Moons. Like, I had really bad separation anxiety when it ended, like the first season, and
Oh yeah.
I couldn't believe that they had to change all of the characters because one
Mhm.
character can't go back and play his role. So yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, I mean, like actually, like my first like BL was probably back in like 2014.
Mm.
I think was see, I don't remember exactly, but I mean, I know that my first Thai BL was Lovesick, but I think like my first like BL was like the Takumikun series movies.
Mm.
Those like they're like old school
Wow.
Japanese ones. They're actually pretty decent. I
Yeah,
recommend
like
them.
yeah, my only source for BLs before was YouTube. Whatever's available, I'll just try to watch.
Oh my god, I was always like I was on those like sketchy ass websites. Like
Oh my
everything
god.
was like into like 7 parts, and like part 2 and 5 were always missing, and
Or like
the
let's say
subs were off.
or like let's say the subtitles were different, like were different, but made by two different people.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
the
And the
Right.
quality was like 144p.
I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, the
I don't know
struggle.
why. But I wasn't able to finish Lovesick. I was able to watch a few
Really?
of the
I
yeah,
love
I
that
watched
one.
a few of
How was
the
it? How was
episodes and
it?
then I stopped watching it. Maybe I'll have to go back.
I thought it was cute. I really liked that one.
Yeah,
There's so
I
many. There's so many.
Hmm.
well there's a lot actually. But it was when I watched Tarn Type that I really like watch it intently
Mm.
Hmm.
because this series is something else. Like there's really something
Yeah,
in
well, I mean,
this.
with Lovesick, it was very like I mean,
Kids
that was like the
and
start of it. Like that was the
yeah,
very first Thai BL. So like series where it was like the main focus. So I think like it was definitely more like on the softer side and stuff.
yeah.
That was also when I became like really in love with Gun Smile and Sing. So I hold it like pretty dear to my heart.
Okay. Yeah. And we have a lot of viewers. Hello, Brian, Edison. We have Linden Park.
Hi,
Sarit BL.
Kael.
Hello, Kael. Hello. Good evening. J Lake. Welcome, welcome, welcome for to everybody who is here watching right now. I guess a lot of you are also interested with what Chelsea's about to share. And again, we will be also addressing some of your questions later on. All right, so uh, let's get into it.
Okay.
Asexuality. What is it about, Chelsea?
So like
Like,
asexuality by definition. So like a lot of people assume that it like they get it mixed up with the biological term of like I don't even remember what it is. It's been so long since I've been in biology. But like people get it mixed up with like the
Mhm.
scientific term, but like asexuality as a sexuality, a is like the prefix a means not or without.
Mhm.
So asexuality is people who don't experience or very rarely experience sexual attraction towards others. But it doesn't mean that they aren't romantically attracted to people or they don't find people physically or like appealing or anything like that. So by definition, it's just not sexually attracted to others.
Yeah,
yeah,
because like I think
that's basically the definition of asexuality.
Mhm.
So it's the absence or not, experiencing sexual attraction, but it doesn't mean that you are not, you don't have the ability to like, fall in love or
Yeah.
have
yeah.
emotional, connection. It's just that uh, it's either you don't experience it or maybe you choose not to experience it, or what is it like, Chelsea?
Well, not really choosing. It's just like any other sexuality. So, like homosexuality, being sexually attracted to the same sex.
Mhm.
Asexuality, just not being sexually attracted to people. You just don't feel that. You don't experience that. Like, I don't look at someone and I'm like, oh, I want to bang that person. Like, it's not something that I've ever like
Yeah.
really had. But like asexuality is actually on a spectrum, so like
Mhm.
not all people who are asexual are exactly
Are
the
the same.
same.
Yeah.
So it all just
Mm.
depends on the person, I guess.
Yeah, because like when and again I'm like asexuality is kind of a new term for me. Like obviously I've heard about it. I kind of have like a like a very small idea of what it's about. And then Alvin told me like, oh, we're gonna interview Chelsea and she's asexual. And I was like, how can you be asexual and you're attracted to like Elijah and Junjun and like you're gushing all over these guys and I guess it's more on like you can be attracted to them
Hmm.
on a certain level like you find I think by this time you already know the term killing, right?
Yeah.
The giddy feeling, right? But
Hmm.
not necessarily like on a sexual
Yeah.
sexual part or anything like that. So I think that's kind of it's not something that's easy for people to understand, I guess, because
Hmm.
especially for us, like I'm homosexual, and even like straight people, they would always think like, oh, you need to be attracted to someone, like that's how it is, like how
Hmm.
like it's impossible that you're not attracted to anyone, or they might think that you're a robot or something like that. But I agree, like there may be spectrums to it, like at a certain level that you are attracted, but not to that extent where you want to, like what you said, bang that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that.
Well, I mean, like that's like for me, like I can find people physically attractive and
Mm-hmm.
like appealing and stuff. So like yeah, like Elijah and Migs, like I find them physically appealing, and like I can be like attracted to people romantically. I just don't
Mm-hmm.
look at people and I don't. It's not like in a sexual aspect.
Yeah.
Like I'll, you know,
Yeah.
like we'll see people like thirsting all over Twitter for like actors and stuff, but it's not really that kind of level for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's more
Mhm.
just more like aesthetics, I guess. More like
Mm-hmm.
I like I can find people attractive and be attracted in a romantic sense, but just it kind of stops there. A lot of times, like I feel like I'm more like platonically, like I see people more in a platonic sense than I do uh more than that. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, like all my like past relationships, it was a lot more platonic than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
I guess one question that I have. So like we're talking about asexuality, meaning not being attracted to someone in a sexual
Yeah.
way. Um, can we say that like is it possible for you to be attracted to women as well? So like let's say, remember, we have homosexuality, we have
Mhm.
pansexuality. Pansexuality meaning you're attracted regardless of the gender. But
Yeah.
for
That's a good
asexuality,
question.
yeah, for
Mhm.
asexuality, since you said that you can be attracted to a person physically or romantically, but not necessarily in a sexual way, is that something that you experience, or I think maybe is that part of the spectrum we're in? There are asexuals who are attracted to both and asexuals who are still within the spectrum of hetero perspective, we're in a girl
Mhm.
would like a guy, or like let's say on a homo perspective, we're in a girl will only be attracted to a girl or something like
Right.
that.
So with like asexuality, so there's like sexualities and there's also like romantic
Mm-hmm.
orientations. So like I consider myself asexual, of course, but I also consider myself panromantic and gray romantic. So sometimes I also would throw in like the label demi-romantic, but I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I try not to confuse people with too many like terms and stuff.
You're right.
But
Yeah,
so like
there's like tons of those terms.
yeah,
Here's a
You,
list of
whatever.
everything.
But like
you need to dissect them.
so romantic orientation is exactly what it sounds like. The orientation that you are like romantically attracted to someone. So with like panromantic, like I I can like be attracted to any gender, but it's
Mm-hmm.
more on like a romantic sense than a sexual
Mm,
sense. And then with like gray romantic, it's more of like it doesn't happen often. Like I'm not
yeah.
like again like I more like I more see people platonically a lot more, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I do feel or like experience romantic orientate or I mean romantic
Attraction.
attraction, so I kind of just like use that one sometimes too, but
Yeah, like
Yeah, so
it's
there's
like
like this
term.
very thin line of distinction between the different sexual orientations and romantic orientations.
Mhm.
So
Mm-hmm.
as what Chelsea said, gray romantic doesn't occur as much as the others. Like it's not as consistent. And
Yeah.
um, and what did you say? The other one that you mentioned, Chelsea?
Panromantic.
Panromantic.
Panromantic. Okay, so panromantic is in your definition. For others who just joined. So what is it? What is it? In other words, when you say panromantic,
Yeah, so
like you
like
are attracted
to like all genders. So like male, females, but also like um people that aren't on like the
Non-binary. So
yeah, like
yeah.
non-binary, yeah, things like that.
And it's actually cool to hear this because ultimately, like here in the Philippines, we're trying to educate ourselves with soji or sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression. So when we went through that, or at least when I went through that, it just talks about like who you're attracted to sexually, and
Mhm.
it's nice that we're getting the perspective of an asexual person who says that there's such a thing as pansexual and also panromantic, meaning
Mhm.
not everything is just about the sexual act, or not everything is just
Mhm.
about that, that primal thing that you feel, but it could also just be like an emotion that you feel attracted to with another person. And it's kind of blowing my mind a little bit because again, my idea of pansexual is like, okay, I'm not attracted to anyone at all, like that's like the initial perspective that I have. So I'm really happy that you were trying to, like, break that wall a
Mhm.
bit, and at least make people, because I'm seeing in the comments, like, people are like saying like, oh, I relate to what you're saying, because maybe there are
to.
like different levels to it. And I think it makes it relatable and real, and makes them feel that, okay, so somebody else is feeling the same thing, maybe I'm normal, or like we
Mhm.
are
Right,
we are
right.
normal, right?
Yeah, it's definitely probably one of the most confusing because it is on a spectrum. So, like,
Mm-hmm.
not everyone is the same. So, it does, and especially like for those who don't relate, I mean, no one's ever going to fully understand something that they don't relate to. I will never understand fully, like, I would never understand, I will never understand, like, people who aren't asexual
Mm-hmm.
because, like, when people talk about, like, sexual experiences or like people thirsting over people, personally I don't get it. It's not something that I fully understand,
Mm-hmm.
and I never will. And I know that not everyone who, like, people who aren't asexual, I know that they won't always understand, but
Mm-hmm.
like I do think it's important to, like, educate people and for people to at least kind of understand some of it, or at least like
Yeah.
the basics.
Yeah. So there's a question here from Joshua Chang, and this is also one of the things that we discussed
Yes.
earlier. When did you started subscribing or identifying yourself as asexual?
I actually I feel like a lot of people who are ace or like identify as asexual,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they find the label pretty late or later on in their life. I didn't start going by it or even really understand it until, or like um really find it until I was 19 years old. So I was
Mm.
already like out of high school, and one of my friends at the time, one of my best friends at the time, we were talking once, and I don't remember how we got on this conversation, but she was like, I think you might be asexual, because like she told me like um she was like she said something along the lines of like, at first she thought maybe I just was uncomfortable with like the whole idea of like sexual relationships and stuff
Mm-hmm.
because we were in school and all this stuff. But she was like, we're out of school, we're 19, and you still kind of just seem like uncomfortable by the whole thing in general. And so I went
Mm.
home and I researched it for like a while, and eventually I was like, yeah, a lot of this makes a lot of sense. And like when I think about it now, like if I when I think about like my high school years and like my previous relationships, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's what it is.
Yeah, and like people in the chat are like talking about labels and things like that, and
Mhm.
um, we've had a conversation in the past with the Kalat boys and the other people. We're talking about how labels are kind of limiting us, but
Mhm.
in a way, it kind of helps us at least identify ourselves. Like you
Yes.
mentioned that you research. Like if you didn't do that, most likely you're just gonna be confused on like, why am I not sexually attracted to this
Mhm.
guy or this girl? Is there something wrong with me? And just knowing that there's a label that's out there. It might not be exactly 100% like your
Yeah.
label, like your definition, but at least there's something that you can cling on and say that, hey, this is me and this is how I feel, this is how I would go with my life. And like at least for us, like for like homosexuals or bisexuals or heterosexuals,
Hmm.
it's easy for us because it's like something that's always been talked about, but asexuality is kind of a very gray area for a lot of people. And like what you mentioned, like the spectrum, there is a spectrum even within the asexual word. And I think there is a spectrum even with the homosexual, bisexual, and
Hmm.
but just that label allows us to cling on to something and at least make us feel like, okay, I get it, I'm like this, and at least I can explain it to some people.
Yeah, like I've gotten into like arguments kind of in the past over that because like
Hmm.
I'll
I
have
bet, I
people
bet you would.
yeah, like I've had people tell me like, oh, why go by a label, you're
Hmm.
just everyone's human, blah blah blah, all that stuff. And it's like, no, like I'm not saying that people have to go by a label. You definitely
Hmm.
absolutely do not have to go by a label if you don't want to. But
That's right.
for me, I personally like going by this label because it, again, yeah, it makes me feel not alone. I never really, and I always felt weird when I like would classify myself as straight when I was younger
Hmm.
because it just didn't fit. So it
Yeah.
just feels a lot better like having a label that feels more comfortable.
But if we are if we are in a society where labels don't matter, then that's fine, right?
Mm,
I hope
Because
no.
we don't. I hope so that it will not matter anymore. But
Yeah.
as I was explaining to some of my friends, and when I'm lecturing about gender sexuality, they kept on asking me, why do we have to keep on putting a lot of these labels? And then
mhm,
what I said to them is that, well, because this is part of society's, they want social order, putting order
mhm,
into things. And when you put order into things, you want to like put labels so that you'll be able to know where they are in the society. and,
Hmm.
and that's one of the concept. That's why a lot of people would start to gravitate into a certain characteristic or behavior
mhm,
because they think that's where they fit. But definitely not everyone. I think even with our viewers tonight, even when you label yourself as asexual, you don't completely adhere to what the term itself actually means, because
mhm,
there's some other dimensions there that you cannot actually relate to, or perhaps in your experience is totally different from what asexuality is actually saying.
mhm,
So, and that's what actually Chelsea's also saying earlier, that well, it's nice to have a certain label wherein you can a little bit feel yourself more comfortable. But
Hmm.
if you don't want to label yourself with
mhm,
anything, or with be associated with anything, then go and just say you're human, and then that's it,
mhm,
right? Yeah. But again, we're doing this because we wanted to educate some people, because maybe some of the viewers or some of our followers are actually experiencing the same, and they're also wondering, am I like abnormal, or what am I experiencing? Is this something not right? I might be judged because of this. And when we started to put a face to the issue, then they start to gravitate and say, I am like Chelsea. So, like example, one of our viewers here commented, I started to understand more asexuality when Chelsea said that she is an asexual.
mhm.
So that's one thing that we can do. That's why we're doing this show tonight.
Yeah, like
Okay.
actually, over the years, I've had a couple people come up or like message me and stuff. Actually, the other day, a really good friend of mine wanted to know more about it because she started kind of relating more to like what she knows about it. So I've
Hmm.
had people like actually ask me questions, and they're like, "I think this might be me, but I want to know more." And so like, yeah, I mean, I love trying to educate people, and if people do kind of feel that way and want more information, I am like absolutely glad to, give that information to people and help people out.
Okay. There's a question here. Can asexual people get married?
Yeah. Yeah, like
Definitely.
asexual people, yeah, like they can get married, they can have, um, relationships and families, they can have kids, like they can live normal lives just as like everyone
That's
else does. Um, and like asexual people can have like sexual intercourse and like be in like with people sexually. It just it being on a spectrum, like there are people who are like sex and repulsed and just
Mm-hmm.
don't like the idea of it at all. There are some people that are okay with it, and like it's just more of like they don't have the attraction, but I mean like it shouldn't be confused with like oh what's the word, um like celibacy or like
Yeah, yeah, mm-hmm.
yeah, like
Abstinence.
that, or like having like a low sex drive or anything like that. It's not that. It's just not like being sexually attracted to someone. But I mean, like you can still have
Do
sex
it.
and
Yeah.
whatnot. It just depends on the person.
Yeah, because perhaps that would be like the question for other people. So, if you do not experience sexual attraction, can you experience sexual pleasure when you're having
Yeah,
sex?
I think so. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't personally know, I guess, but like, I mean, but like, I mean, yeah,
Okay.
I've I again, like I did so much research when I was like trying to figure myself out, and then even over the years I'll sometimes stumble upon things and still do like more research and whatnot. So I mean, I've came across a lot of like articles and stuff, so like yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, like again,
Okay.
guys,
Yeah, go
asexuality is
us.
not a asexuality is not a medical like disease or anything like that.
Mhm.
It's not like a hindrance or anything, but I guess it's just how you are, it's how you feel,
Mhm.
and how you identify as. So like what like it's not necessarily like no sexual drive or anything like that. Like people can do it. Some might be repulsed by it, like what Chelsea mentioned earlier, but
Mhm.
it just really depends on how you are. Like, and again, the question about being married, I'm sure there are a lot of people who might be asexual who are currently married right now and have children,
Mhm.
but as soon as they finish like having a kid and they're done, they're like, okay, I'm fine, I just have a partner and I'm all for it.
Right. Just for everybody's watching right now, when we talk about sexual orientation, there are actually like two-prong approach to understanding sexual orientation. The first one is the physical attraction, and the second one is the emotional attraction. And then I guess that's where a lot of people get a little bit confused, because when you say that you're asexual, but you can also fall in love and experience all these emotions, like they're now wondering what, because I
Mhm.
think it's where they get confused with romantic attraction and physical attraction. So
Mm-hmm.
for asexuals, as Chelsea said, so can actually experience romantic attraction, but she does not experience sexual attraction. Is that correct?
Yeah. So like because a lot of people when you think of like homosexual, bisexual, um heterosexual, you tend to also group in homoromantic,
Mm-hmm.
biromantic, um heteroromantic, because a lot of
That's right.
times those tie in together. If you're homosexual, a lot of times you are still romantically attracted to the
Yeah.
same gender as well as sexual.
That's right.
But asexuals, although there is such thing as aromantic, you can be asexual and aromantic, meaning you don't you don't feel sexual or romantic attraction. um that doesn't always mean that they tie together. You can be asexual and then also be something else, like romantically.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that also goes to homosexuals or bisexuals and heterosexuals. They can be, for example, physically attracted to the opposite sex, but they are like emotionally attracted to a different
Mhm.
gender. Is that possible, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things that a lot of people get confused, because
Mhm.
when we talk about sexual orientation, it's always like a synonymous. A sexual orientation going together with your romantic attraction.
Yeah.
But in most cases, actually, these two are not the same.
Mhm.
Okay. Someone's coming in, Gus. Dalawa. There's okay. Wait. I'm gonna pull up Gus to the stream.
Oh, no, people
Oh,
people are
there's
gonna
two
make
of you
people are gonna make fun of my my Tito. Oh, there, the other one's gone. I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened. My computer froze and I just disappeared. I was like, oh no. And
Not the resting bitch face.
I know. Oh
here.
my
Yeah, I
god.
was
Oh no.
wondering. Like, I think he
Oh
was
my
just
god.
very, seriously or yeah, listening intently, and then he's not moving at all.
He's really interesting.
And then I saw another Gus coming in, like, okay, what's happening? I think someone's trying to barge in our live stream. Oh my.
Yeah. They're, like
Okay.
the viewers will make fun of me again because like for the last live stream that we had, like I accidentally ended the live. I accidentally like I mean like people were like, okay, Gus should be like the technical producer for Game Boys because like he's so bad in technical stuff. Anyway, sorry. Tito problems. Tito problem.
Uh,
Where were
you
we?
know, well, Yundong Park here actually said that what would a romantic drama with an asexual protagonist look like? And how would it be different from your average romantic story of head, BL, and GL, etc.? That's actually a good question. We haven't seen any asexual yet in BL series, peer series for that matter.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on this, Chelsea?
I would absolutely love to see like not even I mean like yeah like a main character as like
Mhm.
asexual that would be like absolutely amazing, but like even like a side character or just like some kind of representation would
Mhm.
be
Right.
really interesting. I like you don't really see much of like asexual representation in not even just like BLs, GLs and whatnot, but like also in like any kind of
Yeah, at all.
show. Yeah, like
Mhm.
even here in like the States. I mean, there's like like I've seen a couple like characters, but it's never really um like
Explored or
yeah they never really explore it. Like they kind of sometimes would mention it or something like that. So it would be really cool to like have something like that at some point maybe,
oh
but
oh
I
what
think we're probably kind of like a long way away from that. I mean, we're kind of now getting GLs sort of,
mhm.
so
Mhm.
Well, wasn't wasn't together any sexual pairing because like they just had a high
oh
five.
my god, it felt like it, yeah.
No, because like we wouldn't know. Actually, we wouldn't know unless like there could be characters that we have seen in the past. They just didn't really vocal, or at least they weren't initially written in such a way. But since
Mm-hmm.
they only have romantic attraction towards the other person, but not necessarily like kissing or having sexual intercourse, that could very well be a person who's asexual but a romantic like attracted to the person in a
Mm-hmm.
romantic way. And
Yeah.
I think that could come in the spectrum of BLs and GLs because like when we go back to the history of BLs and GLs, they're not necessarily like at least how they were not being portrayed as LGBT. They were just being
Mm-hmm.
portrayed as two guys attracted to each other. So it could be like they might be just attracted romantically to each other, not sexually. But again,
Yeah.
a lot of things within the asexual spectrum. And again, this son is saying Tito Gus at it again with my technical difficulties. I'm so sorry. I promise I'll be better. It's not my fault. It's my computer.
Okay. Chelsea, I would like to ask you, what are the common challenges that you experienced when you started, labeling yourself as an
Mhm.
asexual?
Oh, geez, there's a lot. Well, when I first started going,
Sure,
when
go.
when I first started like going by this
Mhm.
label, I was 19, and I remember I did a lot of research, and once I was comfortable enough where I was like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. This is something I
Mhm.
want to go by. I came out to like my family, my friends on Facebook, online and stuff, and I did not expect the backlash. Like
Mhm.
I was like,
Oh,
it was
really?
so weird to me because I was like, I'm literally doing nothing.
Yeah.
So like why? It was always so weird. But like I've gotten so many like a lot of people think that it's like attention seeking,
Mhm.
like just wanting to go buy something and, you know, not be straight and be edgy and things like that. A lot of people just like don't understand it and ask really like weird questions. I've struggled a lot coming to terms with it after a bit. There's always been like it's not that, so like I'm proud of who I am, and it's not that I like, it's not like that I'm like not um what's the word, uh it's not that I'm like
Celebrating
not
or
proud of who I am or anything like
mhm.
that, but I still like struggle a lot sometimes with like feeling that like I'll probably stay alone, like end up alone forever and things like that. Like I've
Mhm.
my last relationship was I want to say my senior year of high school, uh 2014, like the beginning of 2014, 6 years ago. um and with all those relationships, it just didn't feel like an actual relationship, it just felt like friends. So but after that, after like going bisexual and stuff, I've still been like on dates and stuff, but it's always just kind of been like that like feeling of like no one's gonna actually really want me in this like, you
Mhm.
know, sexual driven world. And there's been times where I like really hated myself for it. And yeah, it's weird, it's tough because I just feel like I'm out of place a lot, especially with like friends and stuff who, you know, talk about their relationships. I have a lot of like friends who are very open about their sexual relationships and stuff, and I just never relate to it. And I've had like people kind of tell me that if I am not interested in like someone sexually, no one's actually gonna really want me. So it's always like,
Mhm.
it's always
Oh,
been, yeah, I've had people tell me this, and it's always been really really hard. And I've always had like, I don't want to get like too personal, but I've had people like literally try to guilt me into things because it makes me feel really bad sometimes of like
Mhm.
being the way I am. And a common phrase for like asexuals is like that they feel like they're broken, which I felt like a long time, like even in my high school years before I even knew what the label was or what the term was for me, I always felt really weird. And so that's like a very common like challenge and like issues that I struggled with for years and still sometimes do. Like I still sometimes have problems like telling people.
Mhm.
Like I'm open about it, but like I'll have people literally introduce me to other people, like, "Hey, this is Chelsei. She's asexual," and it's like,
Oh no.
why? Why would you do that? It's so weird. And I'll
yeah.
have people will be like, "Oh, well, I can change that,"
Oh
or
gosh.
yeah, oh god, like really gross, weird things. And I'm like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to say that. You don't have to introduce me
Mhm.
like that. Like, I'll tell people
Right.
if I want to tell people.
And I think it's more of like the, for a lack of a better term, like novelty of it. Like I don't know anyone who's asexual, and now I do, and then we're like, okay, like here's an asexual person, get to know them, or it's something new. And the different the difficulty on that one though is everybody is either on a heteronormative thinking or a homosexual homosexual way of thinking, where it
Mhm.
has to be like this and this, either this or that. And asexual is neither, which is
Mhm.
kind of like a very confusing thing for people, and even for us, like for people who are part of the homosexual community, if there's such a thing as homosexual community, LGBTQ community.
Mhm.
It's trying to like understand like, oh, so you're like this or you're like that, because people have assumptions. And even for asexual people, the term a meaning nothing, it's like, okay, so no, they're like robots and they don't feel anything at all. And I'm sorry to say that initially that was my thought. It's like, no,
Mhm.
how can Chelsea be like that? Like she's so adorable, she's so loving, and she's like, and now I think these types of conversations allow us to like, um, open up these types of scenarios where people actually can relate. I remember seeing someone like now he's kind of having a bit of a existential crisis because like he still can't understand like maybe he is asexual because like he's also relating to what you said earlier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like also with that kind of reminded me. So like I mean, yeah, when people have like genuine questions and stuff, that doesn't bother me obviously, but it's hard because like I feel a lot of asexual people feel like they don't belong in like the straight community nor the LGBT community, because a lot of times the LGBT plus community, I've seen so many people in the LGBT plus community kind of gatekeep, and they're like, oh well, asexual people, no, like they're not actually, because a lot of people think that like asexual people, like asexuality and like heterosexuality is like the same. Like they think that like we're just straight people, which doesn't really make sense. But I mean, like that's what a lot of people think. So it's hard because like a lot of times it's like you don't feel like you belong to either group or like any group in general. I do see one question, and they're asking if I wear an ace ring, and I actually have one.
Wow.
I actually have one. I think I have it in my jewelry. Like when I travel, I think I have it in like my my jewelry bag box thing. But yeah, I do wear. I've worn some in a couple of my videos. It's literally just a black ring that you put on your middle finger. I can't remember if it's like the left or the right hand. I haven't worn it in so long because I work and I can't wear jewelry.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I can't wear like rings and bracelets and stuff. So I haven't worn it in a long time, but I actually do have one.
I want a gay ring.
Okay.
It's literally just a black ring.
I want an accessory for my
I'll buy you a rainbow one.
Yes. Like a pin or something. But
okay. I just like to ask about that ring because when it's like termed as ace ring, so it could have been any other ring, right? But it's termed as an ace ring, which means that when you wear it, it's like an identifier that you're asexual. So ace is actually the shorter word, or the what do you call this, more popular term for asexual. So Chelsea, in your recall, when did this ace ring started? Wearing this, and why is it necessary for some asexual to actually wear this ring?
Well, like in general, I mean, I think I found out about like the like ace ring. Oh man, I don't even remember how long ago it was. It was a while ago, and I always wanted to get one because I always thought that it was like interesting, and like and I've run into like many people who will have like a black ring on their middle finger, and I always like I never like ask them because I'm like I don't know if that's
like,
weird.
Like hey.
Yeah, I'll just like put my nose and be like, oh, the same? No, okay, never mind. But I think it's a really good idea because with asexuality just not being that that known, that having something to identify other people with would be like, like it's really cool. I have like an asexual sweatband too. So like the colors are purple, gray, or black, gray, white, purple. And I did at like one of the Pride Fests that I went to, I had like a sweatband that I would wear quite a bit, and I would have people be like, oh, me too. And so like, strike up conversations and stuff like that.
That's cool. At least you get to identify with each other, and I guess it's harder because at least for the rainbow, it's kind of like, oh, it's us, and like it's the gays, and then asexual people, I guess having that type of identifier makes it easier for you to just like, we're going through the same thing, and it's easy to relate with each other.
Yeah. Okay. There's a question here from Psychomilk Group. Okay. Let me just pull it up because it's a long question.
Can I answer that? Can I answer that last one real quick? The one about
Which
the A.
Yeah. Okay.
Real quick. Doesn't the A stand for asexual? Yes, but a lot of people think that it stands for allies or allies, and it's not. It stands for asexual, but a lot of people don't think so.
Yeah. So when you spell out the LGBTQIA, there's like AA. There's two A's there that stands for asexual. The first A is asexual. The second is ally. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people don't get that, and they thought that A there is actually ally. So
Yeah.
the A there in the LGBTQIA, the first A stands for asexual.
Asexual.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
there you go. All right, so let's read the question from Cycle. Watching the BL or LGBT themed shows all over the world, do you think that there is a difference in the common perception and understanding of what sexual orientation and label between the West and the East?
Wait, I'm dumb. Let
Actually,
me
we
read
just
this
have to,
again.
No,
yeah,
no, no.
like we have to read the
Yeah,
question.
yeah. I think the question of Psycho Milk is there a difference in the way that the different sides of the world understand sexual orientation?
Yeah.
I think one example that I have is at least way back a few like maybe like 10 years ago, when somebody like in the gay world, if somebody asks you whether you're gay, and then if you say you're gay, the initial perspective of people, oh, you're effeminate or you're feminine or you're soft,
Mm,
and
right, like
most
the
and
stereotypes.
yeah, and most gay people who are a little bit more masculine, at least in the Philippines, they usually identify as bi or bisexual because
Mm,
in their head bisexual is more masculine compared to
right.
gay, but they don't
That's right.
necessarily get attracted, they don't get necessarily attracted to the opposite sex, so that's kind of like the confusing part of that. So um I don't know. Like I guess it's the same, except that maybe it's just the use of people. What do
Mm-hmm.
you think, Chelsea? Like because you're from obviously in the other side of the world. Like anything that you've noticed in the way that LGBTs are being um portrayed in like Asian shows that you've seen.
Right. I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, like if we're talking like series wise and like BLs and stuff, it's more. Sorry, I'm freezing. It's so cold in my room. I'm shaking. Okay. No. So like and like BLs and whatnot, I feel like at least. I mean, I don't really know. I think it depends. Like I think there's like similarities. I think that like sexualities are defined the same, but I
Mm-hmm.
think they are just like viewed differently. So I mean, I don't really know. I mean, it's a
And
good question.
yeah.
I don't know how to answer it though.
And I guess the thing that could affect that is depending on the country that you're in. So at
Mhm.
least for the Philippines, we're tolerated. Like the LGBTQIA plus
Right.
community is tolerated, but not necessarily fully accepted by
That's
the
right.
society.
Yeah.
Maybe in the U.S. it's a little bit more accepted,
Yeah.
given that you have a wider hodgepodge of different types of people. But for the Philippines, since we're majorly like a Christian Catholic country, it's very hard
Hmm.
for people to have that perspective. Oh, we're open to that. But at least in the U.S., you're kind of like different cultures and different um, different perspectives in one country. So maybe that could affect it. That's why maybe in the Philippines, our perspective is kind of stereotypical. But in the US, it's
Mm.
a little bit more like until this character says that they're gay, that's the only time that you will know that that character is gay. But here in the Philippines, you will know that that person's gay as soon as they come out of the door because they're wearing
Hmm.
pink or they're wearing like it's
Yeah.
really
Gotcha.
how they're being represented.
Hmm.
Going back to the challenges of asexuals. Yeah, I think you already mentioned some of them. But in terms of forming relationships, was it more difficult to like form relationships when they found out that you're asexual? And when you are in a relationship, what are the common experiences that you had that, for example, like do you fight over it, or like is it
Has it been
a
an issue?
topic
Yeah.
that yeah, is it like a topic that wherein that you have to like keep on discussing?
Hmm. Yeah. Well, let's see. Okay. So well, since for the first part of the question, since coming out as asexual, I mean, like I've been on dates and stuff. I haven't like actually had a relationship since I came out, and it was even like it was before it was like I think it was like almost a whole year. It was like I want to say like 9 months before I even like started labeling myself as asexual was the last relationship that I was in. So so it like that wasn't even like part of it, but I mean, like, I've been on dates and stuff, but like, yeah, that's why I like kind of more like gravitate towards like gray romantic, because I just feel like I look at people in a platonic sense a lot of times. And so like even like being on dates and stuff, it's like, I don't know. And I remember like one date that I was on, it was with this one guy who I don't know why he kept like trying to pursue me, because we would bump heads all the time about everything and anything. But I tried to tell him, I was like, yeah, like I don't see this going anywhere, and he would fight me on it, and I was like, no, that's okay. But when I was like in relationships and stuff, it was when I was still in high school. So I'm like, it was always weird for me, because like, you know, all my friends were like, that was like the time when they would, you know, start like having sexual relationships and stuff. But I always thought it was like weird, and I just didn't want to be part of it. And like at the time I kind of thought that it was like, I just felt like I wasn't ready because of, you know, me being like a teenager. But there has been a couple times when I was like in relationships where the other person would want to like go further, and I would like not be okay with it like at all. And like, not like full on fights and like huge arguments, but like more them getting pissy at me and not wanting to like talk to me for a bit, and you know, all that dramatic high school stuff. But yeah, there's been times where it got in the way of relationships and whatnot.
Yep. So actually, just one of my friends just messaged me right now, and then he says that he identifies as asexual. I was like, what? Wait, what are you saying that out to me? So like all of a sudden, like, wow, like that's great. And then he mentioned that he's been in a like a long-term relationship with another gay guy, and he just recently came out to him saying that he's ace. And I think the reason that they're working is because they communicate, like they and it's just understanding what are the needs and wants of each other, and knowing like what up to what point do you ask for something, or up to what point do you need to, like, you know, give to that other person. And I think that's a you know, it's really really like, again, this conversation is really blowing my mind, because like the whole door of asexuality is opening. I don't think I'm asexual in any way, shape or form, but it's just knowing that there are people around me who are like asexual, like, wow, nice, like, you know, it just makes me understand that there are so many different types of people around the world, or even the people close to you. And like for the person who I'm reading the story now for, like, I'm all for it. I'm so happy that you like that you're in a good relationship where your partner gets to understand your situation being an asexual person.
Yeah, there's actually like a lot of asexual people. I think the last time I haven't kept up on the statistics, but the last time I checked, it was like more than 1% of the world, which doesn't seem like a lot, but
that's
like,
a lot.
but it actually is. It's a lot of
like,
people.
how
Like
many
1%
billion
doesn't
people
sound like a lot, but it is. It's
like
a
a
lot of
million.
people.
I'm bad at
That's
math.
already a
Don't
lot. That's talking about millions.
It's definitely a lot of people. So a lot of people do identify as it. Not everyone might be open with it. I mean, same with like other sexualities and stuff like that.
There's a question here that I'd like to ask you. So it's a question from Dylan Jacobs. So is the opposite of asexual allosexual? I'm not sure. I heard it somewhere. Have you like encountered this term before, Chelsei?
Yeah. So allosexual, if I'm remembering this term correctly, allosexual is people who have sexual like attraction and stuff. So like heterosexual people, in like technical terms, allosexual. Homosexual people, allosexual. It's like people who experience sexual attraction. So if that is correct, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I can't remember. I touched up on it a little bit the other day, but
I
Yeah.
googled about it,
Some
and just to
someone
understand.
who experience sexual attraction is an
Yes.
allosexual.
Yeah,
Huh.
Yes.
but I
Yeah.
think
So
you know, like,
that's what.
I don't think anybody has to identify themselves as allosexual.
I
Like,
mean,
hey,
that's not like one thing. Like
yeah,
I don't think that's like an actual label. It's just like
yes,
what you
exactly.
are. I think
I
it's
think
just
it's
like a
yeah,
definition.
yeah. Hi guys, I'm coming
Okay,
out. I'm
yeah,
allosexual. Like,
I know, right?
Gosh, shut up. Oh
There's a
my
question here from Vincent. When he was 12 or 13, he thought he liked men, but now he likes both. But I don't have a sexual attraction for him or her. Am I bi or asexual?
hmm So okay. I mean, again, like I would do more research before like fully um like going by a label
diagnose.
or anything. Yeah, yeah, like I can't diagnose you or whatever.
Diagnosed.
Diagnose. But I mean, like I would say with like possibility, possibly, Jesus,
Mhm.
it's too early in the morning. Possibly, I would say that like you could be asexual and biromantic.
Mhm.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah, like again with like romantic orientations of
That's right. I think with Vincent's story, so it can be seen like he is asexual, but he is biromantic.
mhm,
Mhm.
So he
Yeah.
can form emotional attractions for both men and women, but in terms of sexual attraction, he does not experience that. So he is an asexual, but he is biromantic when it comes to emotional attraction. So I guess, Vincent, we were able to somehow help you in understanding yourself
Mhm.
better. But as what I've been telling, in my sexuality talks, it is you in and your personal journey that you'll be able to understand yourself more. But having these kinds of talks and this kinds of materials out there can help you understand further. And if you can, for example, gravitate yourself to a person of the same experience, you might want to actually say, I actually have the same experience as Chelsea's, so I think I might also be labeling myself as asexual or something else, right?
Mhm.
So this is what this talk is really about. Okay, let's read some. Yeah, there's another one here that says you can be biromantic, okay, and asexual. So romantically attracted to both, but not sexual. I have a question for you, Chelsea, because um, this is a personal experience of mine. I was very sexual when I was younger, but
mhm.
now that I hit my 30s, I mean, I know I'm 35. I'm starting to feel like I don't want to, have
Mhm.
sex, or I'm
Mhm.
not interested in it anymore. I'm not sure if it's like libido that we're talking about that's like going low, or what the
Mhm.
pandemic is going on me. I'm not
Mhm.
really sure what it is, but
Mhm.
is it possible that you can be allosexual when you were younger, and as you grow older, you become asexual? Is
I
that
mean,
possible?
I don't know. Well, because like with asexuality, it's kind of more of like a sexuality, with every other sexuality of it being something that you're born as.
Mhm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it could just be I I don't know.
Like, I guess on my perspective, because like it's
Mhm,
kind of, I think it's normal for people of a certain age to lose their sexual drive. I'm not saying that that's the case for you. Like,
mhm,
it could definitely be like our our situation that we're in the pandemic. There are definitely some people who are more more hot during this period because of the absence of touch and things like that. But like it could also be like how you like being jaded with relationships and things like that. It could be a lot of
Mhm.
things, like, and let maybe once we're out, back again in the real world, and you can see whether that still affects you, then that might happen. But I'm a believer of fluidity of genders, or at least I'm trying to accept the idea of fluidity. Although I don't see myself being attracted to women anytime soon, or I don't see myself being attracted to any other gender other than like another gay person, or another man.
Mhm.
It's still possible. It's still something that could happen, and it's just really how you are. If you feel a certain way a certain day, then that most likely would be your soji, or your sexual orientation. But I don't know. That's maybe a question for you to find out,
Yeah.
Alvin. What will happen? Like maybe maybe the right person. Like you
But
feel a certain way.
well, there are two schools of thoughts when it comes to sexuality studies, and one of
Mm-hmm,
them is what Chelsea said, that it is inborn, like it's already
mm-hmm,
there. It's somehow fixated when you were able to discern about your sexuality and label yourself. And then another one is what Gus actually said, that gender is fluid and that it is in a spectrum, and that these two schools of thought are actually, there's no one over the other.
mm-hmm,
So it might be one, it's still a growing study. A lot of academics are still looking into it. Psychologists, sociologists are looking into what changes. Okay, and and when we subscribe to, for example, to the idea of what Chelsea said, that it is inborn, it's already there, it's fixated, then the answer to the question perhaps might not, once you're asexual until death. And
mm-hmm,
when we subscribe to what Gus actually mentioned, that gender or sexual orientation is in a spectrum, you know, um, you can be identifying yourself as, allosexual somewhere when you were younger, and then
mm-hmm.
when you grow older, you more now identify yourself as asexual. So it can be either of those things. But the thing is that I guess what's more important is you understand,
What
uh,
you
you
are,
know,
and
who you are, what you're feeling, and there are actually people who will help you in making sure that all these things that you're feeling are valid, and these are the things that are actually normal for everybody, right? Okay, so what else did? Are there any challenges that you experienced? How about in work?
Mhm.
Did you like any have experience that when we found out that you're asexual?
Like, wait, what? Wait, what?
Like
Say.
for
no,
example, because in the Philippines, and I guess also with other Asian countries, when they found out that you are not heterosexual, so you're either homosexual, bisexual, or
Mhm.
pansexual, as long as you're not heterosexual, you actually get to experience stigma and discrimination in the
mhm.
workplace.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So were you able to also experience those in you know did you ever feel like stigmatized or discriminated in the workplace? Well,
Wait,
not
give
in this
me.
workplace now.
Sorry. Sorry. My family started yelling. Um, yeah, no, actually, it's funny because um from shortly after I graduated till like I want to say like last year, I always had really short hair. So a lot of
Mhm,
people actually assumed that I was gay, that I was a lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if I got any kind of discrimination, it was people thinking I was gay, or I've actually I once experienced being in the mall and people someone like thinking that I was trans or something and was kind of like coming after me in that
wow.
sense of like, oh, what's your gender, or what do you identify as, and like trying to be an asshole and stuff, which is
Mhm,
Oh,
so yeah. So I've actually been like um more discriminated against in those kind of aspects of being assumed as something else other than ace, because I mean, with like there are definite like stereotypes against asexual people, but it's not usually really like physical, I guess, because like a lot of times people stereotype like lesbians as being butch and manly, and people will stereotype gay men as like feminine and girly and stuff like that. So normally I feel like those are more of like the physical discriminations. But so like I've actually there was a time when I didn't get a job because they thought I was gay. But but yeah. But there hasn't really been a time that I experienced that because I was asexual. But I mean, there has been times in which I've been kind of discriminated against coworkers in terms of them just not understanding it and asking dumb questions and, you know, thinking I was weird and stuff like that. But
Yeah, and I think it matters. Like I think the perspective of that is the idea of you crossing the line again. Game Boys 13.
Wow.
The idea of
I
you
say
crossing
yes.
the line, because like let's say if you're a lesbian, you or a woman, you basically cross the line if you identify yourself as a lesbian and then show yourself being attracted to another woman. Also, same thing with a gay person who crosses the line and say that, hey, I'm attracted to men. In the perspective of like, let's say, the Bible, or how they think about it, it's like that's the norm, meaning a straight man should be with a woman and a woman should be with a man. And then once you cross that's where the problem comes in. But for asexuality, I guess, since it's not evident, like, it's not something that you're like, hey, I'm attracted to this person or I'm not attracted to this person, they don't really have a problem with that. Because in another conversation that I had with friends, is like some people would say like it's fine for you to be gay as long as you don't cross the line and show that you're with another person, right? You can act as feminine as you want, you can act as masculine as you want, but as long as you don't show that you're with another person of the same gender, that doesn't make it a problem. So I agree that possibly that it wouldn't be a problem in the workplace, but I'm really, really disappointed that, like, people are already giving assumptions even though you're not even lesbian or gay or like even transsexual, transgender. My gosh, like, how cruel can people be, like, for them to have those assumptions?
It becomes so trivial, right? And
Yeah.
they tend to box you with your all your capabilities, your personalities, etc. It's just like limited there. And once where you are tagged or identified into a certain sexuality, it's like they forget everything about
Hmm.
who you are as a person. And that's what is actually being experienced by not just gays or trans. It's even asexuals actually are experiencing those. So I guess the stigma and discrimination against asexuals are also being experienced generally by a lot of LGBTQIA individuals all over the world. Now I have a question for you, Chelsea, because we were asked. I asked you about the stigma and discrimination from non LGBT individuals. Did you have also experience of stigma and discrimination coming from members from the LGBTQIA community?
yeah. Um I mean, like as I was like saying before, that like a lot of times asexual people don't feel like they fit in
Yeah.
with like straight people and with LGBT plus community and stuff. There has been times when like I've actually seen like on Facebook and have actually been told by people that like asexual people shouldn't be like, there was like this whole argument about how asexual people shouldn't be at Pride Fest and like festivals for like
So much
for
for
like gay
acceptance and
people and like
equality, like.
LGBT. Yeah,
What?
for like LGBT. I'm not even
That's
joking. Like
rude.
this is how ridiculous it gets sometimes. People were there was like this whole like argument of like, if asexual people do go to like Pride Fest and stuff, then they should be like
They should choose a side or something.
yeah, like it should be like the allies of like just being there for like support, but not trying to like take any of the attention away and stuff like that. Like yeah, it's a lot sometimes. It like yeah, again, like not everyone understands it, which I get, but like some people just don't try.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I was saying earlier with like the gatekeeping. Like, oh well, if you aren't gay
Yeah.
or lesbian, then you, because I mean like bisexual people and pansexual people, they also get like discriminated.
Yes, I get experience. I get to experience it a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So like it's hard.
Yeah, because like even for
Yeah.
like like bisexuality is people would always say like either you're unfair because you don't choose. It's like
Yeah.
you're getting both, or some are saying like
Mhm.
there's no such thing because eventually you
Mm-hmm.
will become gay or something like that. Like what are you talking about?
I had a friend in the past. Her dad strongly believed that bisexual women like
Hmm.
that's legitimate. That's real.
Oh,
But he strongly believed
Bisexual.
that like bisexual men don't exist. He was like, they're
Yeah,
gay.
I heard that a lot,
They're gay. I
a
was
lot
like,
of times.
what? What?
Yeah,
That made no sense.
yeah. There's that. Even in the Philippines, that's how they see
Mm.
bisexual women are bifems are more accepted, but
hmm.
bi males are like erased. Like, no, you're not. Like, you're
Yeah.
actually gay. You're just not accepting it. What?
You know the term "buy now, gay later."
Oh.
Yeah, I hate that term actually.
Right? It's like, come on, like if a person like again, I'm guilty about it because I didn't understand what bisexuality was. Like how can you choose both? Or maybe because I'm gay, that's why I can't relate to it. But
Mhm.
knowing that it is possible, like come on, we have Alvin. I think I know of a couple people who are, and it's just that they're attracted both to both genders regardless.
Mhm.
And we should just accept that. I think that's the only thing. You just need to accept how a person is as long as they're not hurting anyone or harming themselves, and that's the
Right.
thing that they just need to understand. So
Before we go
Margaret,
to
yeah.
Marcus's question, Chelsea, I would like to ask because Gus actually mentioned the "Buy Now, Gay Later" tagline. This
I'm sorry
tagline
if
has like
if
been
that's offensive to any bisexual person. Like I
it,
condemn
well,
it. Don't worry.
it is actually it is it appears like a joke, but actually it's an offensive joke,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I get tired of hearing that line over and over again because it invalidates the
Yes.
bisexuality
Yeah.
of
I don't think
the
I've ever
people.
actually heard that term before. I don't think I ever
Well,
have.
here in the Philippines, it's rampant. Like a lot
Yeah,
of
it
people
is.
keep saying
Mhm.
that. Now that I have to ask that question. Or are there any terms or taglines or lines or jokes that we should be more conscious
Yes.
about
I think that's
when we're talking
a
to
good
like
question.
asexuals? Like, these are like red flags. So we're not supposed to say this because this is
Mhm.
actually like very
Hurtful
sensitive
or
to you,
yeah.
yeah, or hurtful to you.
Um. Yeah. Let's see. There's probably like a couple. Like I feel like getting too personal is probably something that you shouldn't do. I've had people ask me very like intimate questions that you wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
you probably wouldn't ask even your friends. I
Hmm.
mean, like unless you're very comfortable, but like these would be people that like I'm not super close with and would just ask me very personal, intimate things. So I would kind of stray away from that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
offensive wise, like I get like a lot of just like dumb jokes, like, "Oh, are you a plant?" or like, yeah,
Oh,
Oh no! Oh
that's
no!
that's one that I would get all the time. Or what is it? Do you produce on your own? No, like what is it?
What?
Reproduce on your own? Like
Oh
those,
my god!
yeah, like those. Like I get like a lot of dumb jokes. Those are, I wouldn't
okay.
say that they're offensive. They're just really annoying. Like you get them all the time. Um, and
Yeah.
like a lot of times people think that like you can be changed. That's a
Mhm.
really big one that I
Mhm.
would get like a lot. Or like I mean I know I said earlier that like asexual people like there's not like physical like like a lot of people stereotype with like gay people and lesbians and stuff, and not really like stereotype uh physically with like asexual people.
Mhm.
But I have gotten a couple times, oh, you're too pretty to be asexual. Like,
What?
yeah. So that's also one that I would kind of stray away from too.
Or yeah, like in Filipino we have the term sayang, or like you're a waste.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah. What a
yeah,
waste.
I was gonna
Yeah,
say that
what?
too.
Yeah, yeah. Like what? Like
People,
what a waste. Like
yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, that's another one. Yep.
Or like you look really good. Why? Like okay, is that a problem?
Fine.
And it's funny
Going
when
back
you
to
said,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just the
sure,
funny
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
just
Go
the
on.
funny thing when you said about the plant thing. It's kind of a joke in the Philippines. Like when you are, well, not necessarily asexual, but like let's say some people would joke like I haven't been in a relationship with anyone. I'm not really attracted to anyone. I'm just a plant.
Ha!
But people usually say that about themselves, but they
Yeah,
don't.
I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
that's a little different. That's probably
yeah, yeah,
different.
When you refer to yourself, that
yeah.
is like
Mhm.
it's
Self refer.
it's a joke towards yourself, and it's okay.
Yeah,
But when you like say to another person and you're not close, you don't
yeah,
have
Yeah,
yeah.
that
yeah.
like
It
If you're
also
not
like
that
friendship.
close,
definitely does
yeah.
depend on on your
Yeah,
relationship, like
Hmm.
your closeness with people and stuff. Like I'll have some of like my close friends crack jokes and stuff, and I'm totally fine with it. But like sometimes it's just like
Too much.
it's
Like,
yeah too much, and yeah.
right. That's also what I've been saying to a lot of people. Like they were now asking me, so I cannot joke about this to my friends anymore. And then what I keep saying to them is that here's the thing. Uh, if you keep on joking like this to individuals you don't have any personal relationship to, then it becomes
Hmm.
offensive because you
mhm.
don't know how they will react or if they're
Yeah,
sensitive to the topic. But if
Yeah.
you are friends with this person, so somehow you already know, and that person also knows that you actually mean well. You
Hmm.
don't really need to degrade him or herself or their sexualities, but you are just making fun of it, and it's okay. That person actually permitted you to do so. So for everyone who's watching, so when we bring up those
it's
jokes
fine.
or
Yeah,
statements or whatever, it is best for you to actually like restrain a little bit, especially if you don't know that person quite well. But
Hmm.
if
Yeah,
you're
it's
friends, like you can joke about all those stuff.
yeah,
and I think
it's
that
all
one.
it's all about like
Mhm.
comfortability and stuff. Like make sure, like even with like some of my friends with like certain jokes and stuff, I tell them if I'm taking it too far, if you're offended, let me know. I won't do it.
Mhm.
It all just it depends on the comfortability of a person. So make sure that like before you're like cracking jokes and stuff, that you're close with that person and also that they're okay with it.
Yeah, and like
Right.
people have been.
Okay, now let's go.
Well, sorry. Go
Okay,
ahead. Go
go.
ahead.
You're okay.
No, no,
Yeah, let's
no,
go
no,
to
no.
Marcus's
Yeah.
question. Yeah. Is asexual a mental condition or just another type of sexual preference? Human need to have sex because it's fundamental to being human. I think I read that. You answered this, Chelsea, in one of the Twitter question, and this person has been like diagnosed with asexuality. So can you
Mhm.
like shed light into this?
Yeah.
Diagnosed.
So so
It's like a mental condition
asexuality
or something.
Yeah.
asexuality is just like any other sexuality. It's a sexuality. It's not like a mental condition or anything like that. It's just a sexuality. It's something that like that you were born as, that like it's just that. But yeah, I see a lot of people say that like humans have to have sex and they have to like reproduce and all this stuff and blah 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 blah
Yeah.
blah blah. But you don't. You really you
Mhm.
actually don't. Like I'm I'm almost 25 years old and I'm totally perfectly fine, like 100%. And like it doesn't. I always thought that was like a funny weird thing that like I kind of get it in like again like a sexual dominated world where like
Mhm.
everyone thinks sex is just everything and like the most important thing a lot of times.
Mhm.
But like it's some people it's just not necessary. It's just not something that they need or that they crave or that they want. Some people, like as I was saying before, like sexual sex repulsed people, like
Mhm.
or repulsed by it. Like they
Yeah.
are very uncomfortable. So I mean, yeah, it's definitely not a like medical condition. You it's not something that you'll be diagnosed with or
Yeah.
anything like that.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry to say, but you're the doctor would tell you like,
yeah, and
The
yeah.
results are
So
in.
it's not.
yeah.
Even psychologists they took it out from their set of diagnosis, so it's not a mental disorder anymore.
Mhm.
But before it was, but now when a lot of studies have been done, so it's completely normal. Everybody actually like experiences those things. We have another question here from Zanvi. Can someone who has not had sex before because not really sexually attracted to anyone but gets attracted to someone can identify as asexual?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, like, anyone can identify as asexual. Like, like, as we were like saying earlier, like some asexual people do have sex and then some don't. So,
Mm,
like, it's more of like just the attraction. So, like, if you're not sexually attracted to people, but you have had sex before, or you haven't had sex before, you still can be you can still label yourself as asexual.
right. So okay, J-Boy said there is also a factor of fear and societal pressures. So you might identify yourself as homosexual, but later identify differently. Well,
Yeah.
those are different factors that that we can consider, and there are even some questions when I'm doing my talks, and they will always ask me, is this a biological thing? Can we like pass it on to from our child to parents to children? Is this a genetic? Or
Mhm.
is this also about psychological? So there's a lot of these questions, and actually the answer to that is this is a multifactorial phenomenon. So there are different things that you need to consider, and one factor is not as great as the other because some people might actually experience social and peer pressure that's greater, and the other one has a different factor that you should
Hmm.
consider greater. Okay.
Yeah. Well, with
Uh,
this, like identifying as like something and then identifying as something later, I'm like a strong believer that like you can change your label later on if you find something that fits more.
Yeah.
mm,
Like, I mean, I had a friend who identifies as lesbian, but she said more recently she's started kind of uh, seeing herself relate more with like asexual aspects and stuff like that. So I mean, you can go by some like whatever you are comfortable labeling yourself as.
right.
Mhm.
Hello, Evanes. So
Hi.
there's two Titos and
Yes.
Chelsea. Thank you. Thank you for watching the show. Okay, and we also have shout out Hi, Mako.
Hi,
Is that how you
Mako
say
Medal. Mako.
it? Hi, Gus and Chelsea from
Hi,
Alikoi
Alikoi
fan.
fan.
Hi.
Oh wow! And Mike and Rafi is also here. They're watching the show.
Hey,
Hi,
Rafi,
good
or
evening.
both of
And
you.
they love
Hi.
the reference, Gus.
Yeah, the crossing the line reference.
Yeah, the crossing the line reference. We have Nate here from Psycho Milk. Hello, Nate, and welcome. Thank you for watching the show. Okay, there are actually a lot of comments. I wasn't able to catch a lot of them.
Mhm.
And here is one comment from the 12 Fly. My friend is Ace, and she is in a long-term relationship. She doesn't feel sexual needs and attractions, but she does give her partner sex and feels good in an emotional sense. It's
Mhm.
different for everyone.
Yep.
That's true. And that's what Chelsea has been saying, right? You can be asexual, but you can also, engage yourself sexually. And
Mhm.
there are different reasons why. Well, in my readings, there are top two reasons why asexual would engage in sexual intercourse. One is to satisfy their romantic partners, and the second one is to reproduce. So
Mhm.
Mhm.
if they are intending to have children, then they would actually have sex, but it doesn't mean that he or she or them are actually sexually aroused or interested to have sex. It's just that
Well, I mean,
they are.
I have read that like some people do also do it for pleasure, I guess, but
Mhm.
like for themselves as well. But
Mhm.
it's just they could also like live without it. They're totally fine without it.
Right. So they may do it if they want to, but I think some I guess for most asexuals, like they don't experience it, or they don't practice, I guess, and it's okay, completely okay with them. Am I right with that, Chelsea?
Yeah, I mean, of course, like it depends on the person, but like, yeah, like I feel like a lot of asexual people are totally fine without it, but depending on the person, sometimes like they might be in the mood and they might, but like that's kind of like the hard thing about like explaining sexuality, is because people think that if you have sex with someone, then you're automatically sexually attracted to the person, but like
Mm-hmm.
it's not exactly that. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
be fine with it, but like and you could probably feel like pleasure from it, but you probably like that doesn't exactly mean that you have that
Want
like
that
sexual
person, or like,
attraction. It
yeah.
is kind of hard to explain, and it is like
Uh-huh.
hard to understand, so I do like I do get why a lot of people don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be like more of a like a biological thing, or like a physical thing. Like, of course, if somebody touches you a certain way, like there might be a certain way for a person to be aroused or anything like that, but doesn't necessarily mean that you're sexually attracted to that person. It just gave you the opportunity to, for a lack of a better term, like get a release or anything like that. But
Yeah, well, there's actually like let me not be too like lewd with like how I'm
yeah.
explaining this, but like I mean there are like asexual people who watch porn who
Well, then that's a very good question, because like, that's a very good
Yeah.
thing, because
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah, like they'll watch porn, they'll like
yeah,
themselves, yeah.
yes.
So like I mean there are, it depends on the person, but
Mhm.
like yeah, I mean it's that's why it shouldn't be confused with like sex drive and things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there's a question here from Lionheart. If
Mhm.
you're an asexual, is it safe to assume that you also don't like watching, or you feel weird watching two-person having sexual interaction in a movie or series?
Well, I feel like I keep repeating this. It depends on the person type thing, but
Right.
it really does, because like there are some people like sex repulsed people who are very uncomfortable by that. Um, speaking on like a personal like personal wise, it depends. Like I mean, I'll watch a show and it'll like that has like sex scenes and stuff like that, and I'll like be perfectly fine with it and stuff and whatnot sometimes. But then there are other times where I'm just kind of like uncomfortable. Like even with like conversations with my friends, when it gets to like the sexual like topic, it's sometimes I'm like a little uncomfortable by it. But for
Mm-hmm.
instance, if you guys have seen the first episode of Unlocked.
Not yet,
Ah,
not yet.
yeah,
But yeah. But I've seen the scenes. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
scene in it, and I reacted to it, and it was
Yeah.
intense. But like it wasn't that it made me very uncomfortable, but like it made me kind of like I was like, this is like kind of awkward, because I don't know what to say and do in these like
Hmm.
situations, because like that's just a like very unrelatable thing to me, I guess. So like I mean I can watch them, and I'm not always like uncomfortable. It's like more of like a I don't relate to
Hmm.
that really
Hmm.
much.
Okay, we'll be moving on to the next part. So I guess some of this needs we were able to address already in some of the questions. But are
Mhm.
there any other myths that about asexuality that we were not able to talk about or answer from the viewers, Chelsea, that you would like to explain or tell us
Yeah.
about?
So I actually looked some up, trying to like remember some more. Um and I did find some like good ones. Some like myths, like what we've discussed earlier, like asexuals don't fall in love, they don't have sex, things like
Mhm.
that. Asexuals can only date other asexuals. That's which definitely is not true. Like
Could
um
work, but not always.
yeah, like I
Not all
mean
the time.
there are a lot of like
Yeah.
asexual people who do date asexual people because it's comfortable
Yeah,
and
they relate to each
Mhm.
other.
yeah.
Yeah.
If
But
they
I
can
mean,
relate.
hmm but like not all people do, and it's hard because even me myself, like I know that there are people out there who aren't asexual who are like okay with dating asexual people and are totally fine with it and they're comfortable, like their partner's comfort level and stuff like that. But it's also hard as an asexual person because it feels like not a lot of people are okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
So like trying to find people that aren't asexual or like falling for someone who isn't asexual sometimes is like a very like scary thing because you don't think that they would understand or like even try to understand.
Mm-hmm.
What's another one? Asexuals are not bullied. That was one that I thought about. I thought that at first when I first came out, I was like, yeah, I mean, no one's gonna care. People do. And that there's no reason for asexual people to come out because a lot of people, like again, like some people don't think that it's like a sexuality, so people are like, oh well, you know, like they don't really have to come out or they don't come out and stuff like that. But I mean, with it being a sexuality, the only like sexuality that you don't really come out as is straight because
Right, yeah.
like literally there's no reason to. I've seen people like actually do it and it's like, ew, why?
Really? Oh my god.
Yes.
That's so stupid.
It's so
I'm straight.
weird and I'm like, oh, it's so cringe. But
Like
like, yeah.
maybe
Right.
maybe if like let's say they're again, it's stereotyping. Maybe like people have been saying that they look gay or anything like that they would have to really say that no, I'm not, I'm straight and things like that.
Yeah,
right?
I wouldn't say that that's coming out though. I think that's just more
Oh,
of like a
yeah.
statement. I think that's
Yeah.
just like stating like
I have a
there's
coming out party, like I'm
But, like,
straight.
I mean, unless it's a joke, like literally being like, okay, guys, I'm sitting my family down. I'm gonna tell them that I'm straight. Like, what? No,
I
you
remember,
don't need to do
yeah,
this.
I remember that scene in what's that, Love, Simon, when they reversed. Yeah, it was like so funny. Like, and the parents were crying, like, no, what am
Yeah.
did I do something wrong? Why are you straight? But no
Yeah.
offense, no offense to straight people, because maybe we just don't know their struggles of
Yeah.
being understood about being straight and things like that. But I think connected to that thing that you mentioned, what are the situations that you felt that you had to come out? So like let's say Alvin asked about work earlier, if that's something but what, because like now basically this is us telling the people telling them we're like, hey, Chelsea's asexual, but has there been a situation wherein you really felt that, okay, I have to tell this person that I'm asexual, and what were those situations?
There's been a couple, and it's normally like when people are coming off like really strong. Sometimes like I've had like people just come off like really strong, and I'm just kind of like, I'm not okay with this, and here's why type things. And there's been like situations of like family wondering why I'm not in a relationship, and it's like, oh well, because of this, and I'm just not into it really, or
like why don't you have a boyfriend, or like why haven't you gotten married?
So like situations like that, I don't think that there's really been like many situations where I felt like I had to, but there's been like situations where I've kind of been like people would be talking about like relationships or be talking about like a specific topic where I'd be like, oh, okay, well, I relate or I don't relate to this, and I'll kind of just like throw it out, but there hasn't really been like many like situations, I don't think, where I like felt the need that I had to come out, and except for like when I was like really like when I like started going by it, when I was like comfortable enough to be like, oh yeah, okay, well this is how I identify.
Yeah.
Okay, so Park here said that he has a friend in high school who had effeminate mannerisms, and but he wasn't gay, and he had to come out as straight. Yeah. And it actually happened to one celebrity just very recently in the Philippines, and that Darren Espanto. So he had to address the issue over and over again because a lot of people keep saying that he is not straight, and then he has to like come out and say
Mhm.
I am straight. So it's like again, we keep on making these things trivial, and I don't know. I think that's also me, as a person. Sometimes I would have to check myself and ask myself like, okay, is it really necessary for you to know their sexuality?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Like those are the questions like I have to ask myself. Is it like important for you to know who they get attracted to? And if so, will it change your life, or will it change the way you perceive that person to be? Well, if the answer is no, then don't ask, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's actually
Yeah.
like there's a lot of friends, like even like reactor friends. I don't know their sexuality because like I don't think it's necessary
Mm-hmm.
to
Yeah,
like
me too.
unless someone wants to tell you, it's not
Right.
necessary and like I won't ask. So there's a lot of my friends that I actually don't know what their sexuality is, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really exactly matter because although I feel like sexuality is to a person could be very important, but I don't think it's the most important thing about a person.
Exactly.
That's true. And I have to remind that over
Mhm.
and over again, and I also have to tell other people about that. If it is not that important, if it's not important, if it will not change any of your perspective
Mhm.
with that person, then you let them be, right? So
Yeah.
similarly as what Chelsea said, I also don't ask friends about their sexuality, but if they
Mm-hmm.
tell me about their
Yeah.
their sexuality, then thank you for the trust, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Right.
that's gonna lead you to something else. Now you have the responsibility to actually keep that information to yourself,
Mhm.
because
Right.
that information is confidential information, right? And you are not in the position to actually tell their story. So
Mhm.
they're the ones who have to tell their story. But if they're out in the open and been telling a lot of people who they really are, then it's completely fine,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. 'Cause I actually
Okay,
was.
so yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead,
I was
Gus.
actually just watching. Because I like watching Survivor clips. The show Survivor.
Mhm.
Outlast, Outplay, whatever. And there's this one segment there where some they were in the tribal council and they were trying to vote out someone, and then all of a sudden this guy was talking about there's a big deception that's happening in this room right
Oh, I
now.
think I know what you're talking
Yeah, yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
then
remember
and
this.
then all of a sudden he told one of the guys. He said, "Why haven't you come out to people? And why haven't you told people that you're transgender?" And nobody knew
Mhm,
that the guy was transgender. So
mhm.
Mhm.
he was basically trying to save himself and say that there's deception, but it ended up in a really bad place because like everybody hated him because like he just outed
Yeah,
a
like you can't
person.
just
But
yeah, you can't just hate someone.
what I liked with what the trans man mentioned was, or Zeke was, he said that the reason that he didn't share it with anyone is, first, he didn't think that it would matter to
Right.
share
Yeah,
whether he's trans or not. And the second thing that he mentioned was he doesn't want to be known as the trans guy. He just wanted to be known
yeah,
as Zeke, right? So
Mhm.
like sometimes
yeah.
it's really hard for people to understand, like, why don't you need to come out, like, because I don't have to if I don't need to,
Right.
right? So if it
That's right.
doesn't really hurt other people, and nobody has any business to out another person.
Exactly.
um and I will be honest, I have been guilty in the past where I would say, like, why can't this person just come out, like, just make it, just come out. But it's their business. It won't improve my life if I find out
Mhm.
if a person is
Right.
gay or lesbian or
It's not gonna
bisexual
make
or
you
anything.
rich either.
Exactly, right?
You're not gonna earn from it.
Unless you're attracted to that person, but that doesn't still guarantee that that person will be attracted to you back if you find out that they're gay or whatever.
Mhm.
But yeah, don't
That's
out
true.
people.
Okay. Before we wrap this interview with Chelsea, uh, any last questions that you'd like to ask? So ask them away, because Chelsea's a very busy person and a very busy reactor. So we don't really want to keep her time. Okay. But while waiting for any other questions that you have, uh, what are your message to others who may be struggling with their sexuality, Chelsea?
Yeah. So for those who like want who are struggling with figuring out who they are, whether it be asexual or any other kind of like sexuality, I would say the biggest thing is do your research before fully fully going by something. and really think about everything and whatnot. Um, and even just like educate yourself on other sexualities, other orientations, other gender identities, like anything. Like staying educated on a bunch of things is very important, regardless of if you relate to that or not. And if you are struggling with figuring out who you are, or like any kind of like backlash or anything like that, know that you are an important person, and you are not broken, you're not weird,
Mm-hmm.
you're not
Yeah.
you're not different, you're not like, there are people who are like you. And that's why research, and like I actually I found an asexual app of like literally like
Mm.
other asexual
Wow.
people all around the world, um just having conversations with people. And some of them are looking for relationships, some people are just looking for friends. So finding like a community that you relate to is also really helpful. So I mean, yeah, like do your research, look for people around you, and know that you are loved and important.
That's a nice
Amazing
message.
message.
You are loved and you are important. How about you guys? Any message for for our viewers? Since you're already here in the stream.
Yeah. No, because like I think what Chelsea mentioned was really important. It's knowing yourself, and if you don't know what you would label yourself as, it's still fine. You have your whole life to find out.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't let other people pressure you into being one thing or another. And for those people who find out that their friend is bisexual or gay or lesbian or asexual, I think it's always best to ask that person, because their
Yeah.
experience is very different from what a bisexual person would be or an asexual
Mm-hmm.
person would be. Like, again, the experience that Chelsea has shared to us is very specific to her. So it could
That's
be
right.
very different for another asexual person that would come out to you, if they do come out, or if you find out that they are. So they're like Chelsea, they're gonna be like this, or maybe, oh, I saw an asexual person in this movie, so they're gonna be like this. So just ask, if you, but not to the and always go back to, please be respectful of the questions that you're going to be asking. Always think that there are certain questions that might be offensive, but get to know that person, more than just the orientation. They're still the person. They're still the same friend or acquaintance that you have. So just be open minded, ask questions if needed, and enjoy life. 'Cause we only have one.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I've been flashing some, the comments from our viewers saying thank you. And the Yudong Park actually said that he loved this discussion. So, and thank you, Chelsea and Gus, for putting your energy into this. They love the stream very much. They got more understanding about asexuality, according to Star BL. And there are actually a lot of people who now, like for example, as what Gus said, like a friend of his, came to him and disclosed that is this a he or she?
He
That
he.
a
Yeah.
he, all right? He that said that he is asexual. So it's really nice now that we're opening this discussion. We can hear people say that actually I am asexual. Like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, okay, that's wonderful. And I love this from Lionheart. I think I'm going to you know I'm going to adopt this as my tagline for my sessions.
Hmm.
so
Exactly.
so
That's a
this
very
will
good
be this
tagline.
will be my new tagline before I end my live streams. And this is what I'm going to say: that you are loved, you are important, and you are valid. So
Yes.
thank you, Darren, for that. Let me borrow that phrase from you, and I'm going to
Yeah, the you
and
are
I'm gonna
valid.
I'm gonna
Yes.
That's such a important part too. The you
Exactly.
are valid. I
yeah,
love that. I always love
yeah,
seeing the like people making other people feel valid, because a lot of times like you feel very invalidated.
Hmm.
Um. So yeah, I like that a lot, Lionheart. Thank you.
right. So I'm going to have that part of my my stream. Like whenever I end, I'm going to say you are loved, you are important, and you are valid. Thank you and good night. Well, something like that.
Not yet. Not
Yeah,
yet.
that's good. That's good.
Okay, thank you very much, Chelsea, for your time, and also to Gus who shared your opinions with us.
Thank
Chelsea
you
for
for
your
having me.
stories, and also for enlightening us about asexuality. Please do comment in this video which of the topics you would like to know more. Next time, I'm still waiting for others. I've been talking to different PL actors. They are willing to share their stories. It's just that I'm just fixing the schedules with them.
Mhm.
One is from a GL series and one is from a BL series that's currently airing right now. Okay, so once the schedules are okay, I'm going to let you know about it. All right. So if you don't have any more questions, thank you very much for watching this live stream, and thank you, Chelsea, and thank you, Gus.
Can I say
Again,
something really
this
quick?
yeah,
Sure.
sure, go on. If
Yeah.
you like to plug anything or
Oh well,
invited your
I was actually just gonna say more of like a thank you to everyone who was like watching and everyone who was like really
Mm.
respectful and asking like legitimate questions and being open-minded and like actually listening, because it is hard as like an asexual person with people not fully understanding and things like that. And when people are genuinely interested and like really want to actually educate themselves and know more about things and ask questions respectfully, it makes me feel really good as a person. It makes me feel human and not some like, weird like broken
right.
kind of
Yeah.
person. So honestly, thank you to everyone who has tuned in, who's asked questions, who's commented. I love all of you guys so much. And yeah, and plugging things. Well, I mean, obviously my channel, you guys can go check out.
Chelsea is obsessed.
Chelsea is obsessed.
Right. And how about your other social media accounts that people might want to follow?
Yeah, I have Instagram. It's at Chelsea is obsessed, and I'm very very active on Twitter. It's at Chelsei Wahlgren, ChelseIWahLgren. Those are the ones that I'm really on a lot.
Okay, thank you very much, Chelsea. How about you, Gus?
No, I just want to thank Alvin for having these live streams. I think
Mhm.
again really blew my mind. Like, oh, wow, like there are a lot of people who can relate to these stories. I was
Mhm.
thinking like, oh, Chelsea's gonna be like this amazing fairy that we're all gonna be talking about, and like she's gonna enlighten us with her life. And then all of a sudden, we're seeing all these private chats or chats from people saying that, hey, I can relate. Like now I understand. Now I'll try to research more. So
Mhm.
having these conversations, Alvin, totally makes everybody feel validated that whatever they are and whoever they are is something that they need to explore. And thank you for doing this, and looking forward to watching and even joining some of your sessions in the future. But yeah, and for
Sure.
everybody in the chat, thank you for watching us. You really had a great time. Just wanted to plug something. So tomorrow,
Yeah.
we're gonna have our Calat Hours Calat Crew live
Yeah.
stream. So it's at 10 o'clock. It kind of coincides with a show with Vice Ganda with Elikoy. But after that, you can definitely please join us. We're most likely gonna be up until
Mhm.
like 3 in the morning, most likely out with
Oh my God.
alcohol and whatever. Hopefully I don't get into trouble with the stuff that we're gonna be saying. But also we're gonna we're currently doing we're gonna be actually I'm gonna be shooting a reaction later for Quarantines, as well as guys sa
Right.
pelikula, the new trailer for
It's
that.
really out. Yeah.
Yeah, so just check out my channel. It's Gus Agustin. Also our Twitter, it's review_boys. Also my personal Twitter, it's Gus Agustin. Like Twitter is my life right now. Like I haven't really checked
Yeah.
Facebook and Instagram for a really long time. But yeah, so just see you tomorrow for the Kalat hours, and hopefully we're not even sure like what's gonna happen for Alt Game Boys 13.5. So we don't know if
Yeah.
that's something that we're gonna be reacting
Yeah.
to. We're kind of like,
Let's
okay,
discuss
what
it tomorrow
yeah, like
because I'm also
what's
wondering.
gonna happen? Like we're all gonna theorize and whatever's gonna happen. But yeah, see you in the YouTube and Twitter and all that stuff.
You
Yeah,
said that's
we're
at 10, right?
yeah, yes at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
So if you
Okay.
it's
wanna
gonna
drop
be a
by and just say hi and like
I will
everything.
definitely
yeah.
drop by, but I also I just remembered that
Hmm.
that Alex from Alex and Rosie, he has a live that's going
Oh,
on at
cool.
I think 11 p.m.
Hmm.
Philippine time.
Hmm.
That I'm a part of. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, of course, like I do want everyone to watch, Gus and
Yeah,
everything,
like,
but also
choose,
like
choose your
if,
weapon.
yeah.
If you wanna, yeah, if you wanna mess,
Either way, it's
Totally,
you
gonna
want,
be
yeah,
good.
like one phone for this, one phone for that.
if you want a totally messy night, just join us.
Right. Vincent said Elijah and Chelsea forever. Ha ha
Yes.
ha.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. I might be ace, but I still absolutely love Elijah and
Yeah.
Migs with my whole heart and soul.
JC and Brianna said Chelsea is my everything.
Oh, you're my
Oh.
everything. You're my everything.
And another one is from Eureka. So I learned a lot from this discussion. Thank you very much, Alvin, Gus, and Chelsea. Thank you very much too for hanging around, and and tomorrow we're going to see Gus and the Kalat crew.
Oh my
I'm like
god.
a I'm like a guest Kalat crew
Yes.
member.
So please
I'm
join
gonna
Alvin.
like
We
yeah,
need
I'm
you.
gonna barrage
I, yeah, I need you there.
to keep people sane.
Oh no, one of them, like Xan7 says Calat Hours is my work podcast. I don't know if it's the right thing to listen to at work.
Yes.
You might get
Okay.
into trouble.
And and please no Tito Gus pressing the wrong button again tomorrow.
Yes, I promise. I'll try my best. I'll try my best.
Okay, and before we end this live stream, let's us just say this you to Chelsea, because she's our guest for tonight, that Chelsea is love, Chelsea is important, and Chelsea is valid. Let's do it together, guys. One, two,
Okay.
three, go.
Chelsea is
Chelsea,
love.
love, Chelsea
Love.
is
Chelsea is
important,
important. Chelsea is
and
valid.
Chelsea is valid. And that is all for tonight. Thank you very much. I hope to see you in the next live stream. And please do go and watch the live stream of Gus tomorrow at 10 p.m. And also, please do subscribe to Chelsea's channel. I'm going to see you. Bye, everybody.
Bye
Take care.
bye. Happy
Bye,
Friday,
guys.
everyone.
Happy Friday.
Woo. Drink. Wait, have we left the studio? Are they still there? Are we still recording?
It says live.
Yeah, it's still
Yeah.
live.
Yes, I'm gonna click the one. No worry, it's already there.